You see, every single day, life gives you a choice between what you feel like doing and what you need to do, and that choice, simple as it sounds, decides the entire direction of your life. Most people lose that battle before the day even begins. They wake up, check their phone, scroll for a few minutes, tell themselves they'll start later. They let their mood become the driver of their destiny, but champions, those who create extraordinary lives, they do something different. They follow their plan, not their mood, because moods lie, moods fluctuate. They are built on comfort, distraction, and emotion, but your plan, that's the map you designed when your mind was clear, when your heart was focused, when you knew exactly where you wanted to go. That plan represents your best self, and every time you choose the plan over the mood, you take one more step toward becoming that version of yourself. Think about it. How many times have you said you'd start working out, only to stop because you didn't feel like it? How many dreams have died because someone let a temporary feeling control a permanent goal? Success isn't about what you feel like doing. It's about doing what you said you would do, long after the mood you said it in has faded away. Discipline is not about punishment. It's about freedom. The freedom that comes when you can trust yourself to act, no matter how you feel. You cannot build a masterpiece on emotions that shift like the wind. You build it on habits, on routines, on commitment. That's why the most successful people don't wait for motivation. They create momentum. They don't rely on their feelings. They rely on their systems. They show up on the days they don't want to, because they know that's when it matters most. When it's hard, when you're tired, when your mood says, not today. That's when your future is watching. That's when your plan is asking, do you mean it? You will never feel like it every day. You will not always be excited, inspired, or full of energy, but that's not what greatness requires. Greatness requires consistency. It demands that you honor your word even when your feelings resist it. Your plan is a promise to your future self. Every time you break that promise, you teach yourself that your word means nothing. But every time you keep it, especially when it's hard, you build unshakable confidence. Stop negotiating with your excuses. Stop waiting for the perfect mood. Stop letting your emotions vote on your destiny. The plan you wrote when you were clear, when you were hungry, when you were determined, that's your blueprint. Follow it. Follow it when it's easy, and especially when it's not. Because the person who follows their plan, not their mood, is unstoppable. Your feelings are guests. They come and go. But your plan, that's home. That's where progress lives. That's where transformation begins. So next time your mood whispers, take a break. Listen instead to the voice that says, stay the course. The voice that knows what you're capable of. The voice that refuses to settle for less than your best. Don't let your mood decide who you become. Let your plan lead the way. Because one day, you'll look back and realize that every small decision to act, when you didn't feel like it, was the very thing that built the life you were meant to live. Moods are temporary, but your plan defines your direction. Every day, you wake up with a different set of emotions. Some days you feel powerful, driven, and unstoppable, and other days you feel tired, unmotivated, and lost. That's human. But if you let those emotions decide your actions, your life will always be controlled by how you feel in the moment rather than by the vision you set for yourself. Moods are like weather. They change constantly. They can't be trusted to guide long-term decisions. One moment you're ready to conquer the world, and the next, you just want to hide from it. That's why your plan exists, to give you a steady direction when your emotions want to pull you off course. When you make a plan, you're making it from a place of clarity and intention. You're not thinking about what's convenient right now. You're thinking about what will get you closer to who you want to become. The plan represents your vision when your emotions aren't clouded by doubt, fear, or laziness. It's your internal compass, the structure that keeps you aligned with your purpose even when your feelings try to distract you. But too many people confuse how they feel with what they should do. They think if they don't feel motivated, they can't act. That's one of the biggest lies people tell themselves. Motivation doesn't show up for action does. When you stick to your plan, even when your mood is low, that's when you prove to yourself that you're stronger than your emotions. Think about how many goals die not because someone wasn't capable, but because they let a bad mood take control. They missed one workout because they didn't feel like it, then two, then a week later they tell themselves they'll start again next Monday. They don't realize that every time they choose their mood over their plan, they're reinforcing a habit of inconsistency. They're teaching their mind that emotions are more powerful than commitment. But when you start choosing your plan, no matter how you feel, something shifts inside you. You build mental toughness. You begin to separate your emotions from your decision. You begin to see yourself as someone who follows through, not just someone who tries. The truth is, moods are deceptive. They make you believe that comfort is safety. They make you believe that waiting until you feel ready is the smart move. But your plan doesn't need you to feel ready. It needs you to show up. Every time you act according to your plan rather than your mood, you strengthen your identity. You stop being controlled by impulse and start being guided by intention. That's how real transformation happens, not in the moments of excitement, but in the quiet moments of resistance when you decide to stick with your plan anyway. Your plan is your truth, written down in advance. It's the voice of your best self, the one who knows exactly what needs to be done to create the life you want. It doesn't care about excuses, about how tired you are, or about whether you're in the mood. It only asks for one thing: follow through. And when you do, your life begins to change because consistency always wins over emotion. The people who achieve great things aren't those who always feel good. They're the ones who act according to their plan even when it's uncomfortable. There will always be moments when your emotions scream louder than your purpose. You'll feel frustrated, unmotivated, or distracted, but that's when your plan becomes your anchor. It keeps you steady when your mood wavers. It reminds you why you started. It gives you direction when your feelings try to confuse you. Following your plan through every mood swing, every wave of doubt, every moment of weakness is how you build resilience. It's how you train your mind to lead rather than follow. It's how you shift from being controlled by emotion to being driven by vision. Because in the end, your moods come and go, but your plan, your true direction, remains steady, waiting for you to return to it every single time. Discipline means doing what you said you'd do, even when you don't feel like it. It's easy to make promises when you're motivated, when everything feels clear and exciting, when your energy is high and the vision of success looks close enough to touch. But the real test doesn't happen in those moments. The real test happens when the excitement fades, when progress slows down, when no one is watching, and your mind whispers that it's okay to take it easy. Discipline isn't built on motivation. It's built on commitment. It's built on the decision to act according to your word, not your feelings, because feelings come and go, but your word should stand unshaken. Most people break promises to themselves without realizing the cost. Every time you say you'll do something and then don't, you weaken your own trust. You send yourself a message that your words don't carry weight. Over time, that's how self-doubt grows, not because you lack talent or intelligence, but because you stop believing in your own follow-through. Discipline repairs that trust. It rebuilds that belief one action at a time. When you do what you said you would do, even when it's uncomfortable, even when your mood resists, you prove to yourself that you can be counted on. That's the foundation of confidence, the unshakable certainty that you can rely on yourself. Discipline is the bridge between intention and result. Everyone has dreams, plans, and goals, but only those who practice discipline make them real. Because there will always be days when you don't feel like showing up. There will be moments when fatigue, frustration, or fear try to take over. That's where discipline steps in. It silences the noise and says, we move anyway, Discipline doesn't require passion, it requires decision. It's not about feeling ready, it's about keeping a promise. It's about showing up for your future self, even when your present self would rather quit. There's a difference between interest and commitment. When you're interested in something, you do it only when it's convenient. When you're committed, you do it no matter what. Discipline is what separates those two. It's the muscle that turns intention into execution. You don't need to be inspired every day to be disciplined. You just need to be consistent. Every time you follow through on what you said you'd do, you're conditioning your mind to value action over emotion. You're building a pattern that becomes who you are. A person who doesn't wait for the right mood, the right time, or the right motivation to act. The truth is, discipline often feels uncomfortable in the moment. It's rarely pleasant to wake up early, to push through the last set, to study when you're tired, to keep going when it's boring. But that discomfort is temporary, and it always leads to long-term strength. Every act of discipline plants a seed of confidence, and those seeds grow into habits that define your destiny. People who achieve greatness aren't lucky. They're consistent. They've trained themselves to act in alignment with their goals, not their emotions. They've learned that comfort doesn't create growth, consistency does. When you rely on motivation, you'll always have to start over. But when you build discipline, you never stop moving forward. Discipline makes progress inevitable, even when progress feels slow. It removes the question of if and replaces it with when. It gives you control over your life because you're no longer a slave to your moods or your circumstances. It's not about perfection. It's about persistence. It's about being the kind of person who honors commitments, no matter how small, because that's where self-respect is born. Every action you take either strengthens or weakens your discipline. Skipping one task might seem harmless, but it's a message to your brain that your word is flexible. Following through, even on the smallest promises, sends the opposite message, that your word matters. Over time, those choices compound. They build a reputation, not with others, but with yourself. You start to see yourself as someone who can handle challenges, who keeps moving forward regardless of how you feel, and that identity becomes unstoppable. Because once you've trained your mind to act out of discipline instead of mood, there's nothing that can stop your momentum. Success is built on consistency, not emotion. Anyone can work hard when they feel inspired, when the energy is high and everything seems to flow naturally. But that kind of effort is temporary. True success doesn't come from short bursts of excitement or moments of motivation. It comes from steady, deliberate, and repeated action over time. Consistency is the quiet force that separates those who dream from those who achieve. It's not glamorous, it's not loud, and it's not always exciting, but it's what builds greatness. The people who reach extraordinary levels of success are not the ones who rely on how they feel. They are the ones who show up regardless of how they feel. Consistency is what turns effort into excellence. It's easy to start strong, but staying committed day after day, especially when there's no visible progress, is what defines real dedication. Every small, repeated action compounds into something powerful. A single workout doesn't make you fit, but showing up every day does. One act of focus doesn't bring success, but staying focused over time changes everything. Consistency is like gravity. It keeps your progress grounded and moving in one direction, even when your emotions want to pull you somewhere else. Most people underestimate how much small daily actions matter. They get impatient. They want fast results. They want success to feel exciting all the time. But success doesn't happen in flashes of intensity. It happens in the quiet repetition of effort. It happens in the mornings you get up when you don't want to, in the work you do when no one's clapping, in the decisions you make when it would be easier to give up. Emotion says do it later, Consistency says do it now. Emotion says it's not working. Consistency says keep going. The danger of living by emotion is that emotions are unreliable. They can lift you one day and drag you down the next. If you chase success based on how you feel, you'll always be stuck at the starting line. But when you build consistency, you don't depend on motivation. You depend on discipline. You learn that even the smallest progress made every day is better than the biggest progress made once in a while. You start to value the process more than the feeling, and that's when real change begins to happen. Consistency doesn't mean perfection. It doesn't mean you never make mistakes or never fall short. It means that you keep coming back. It means you don't let a bad day turn into a bad week or a small failure turn into quitting altogether. It's the act of returning to your purpose again and again, no matter how many times your emotions try to pull you away. It's persistence in motion. It's the quiet, patient grind that builds mastery over time. You can't control your mood, but you can control your effort. You can't control every outcome, but you can control how often you show up. And that control is where success truly lies. When you look at people who have achieved extraordinary results, it's not because they were always inspired, it's because they were consistent. They built systems that allowed them to keep moving even when they didn't feel like it. They didn't wait for motivation. They created habits that carried them through the days when motivation was gone. Success rewards consistency because consistency proves commitment. It shows that you're willing to keep working even when no one's watching, even when the results are slow, even when your emotions tell you it's not worth it. The truth is, consistency is the ultimate equalizer. You don't need to be the smartest, the strongest, or the most talented. If you can be the most consistent, you will win, because consistency compounds. Every effort adds up, every repetition builds strength, every small action creates momentum. Over time, what once felt impossible becomes normal, and what once felt far away becomes part of who you are. Emotions will always rise and fall, but consistency is the steady pulse that keeps you moving toward your goals. When you make consistency your standard, success becomes inevitable because you stop waiting to feel ready and start acting like it every single day. Your plan is a promise to your future self. Honor it. When you create a plan, you're not just writing goals or setting targets. You're making a declaration to the version of you who's still waiting to experience the life you desire. That plan is a message that says, I will show up for you. It's a contract between who you are today and who you're striving to become. But too many people treat their plans like suggestions instead of commitments. They start with passion, but the moment challenges arise or moods shift, they abandon what they promise. They forget that every time they break that promise, they aren't just delaying progress. They're betraying their own potential. Honoring your plan means keeping faith with your future self, even when the present feels uncomfortable. Every plan you create represents clarity. It's built during a moment of focus, when your heart and mind are aligned, when you can see beyond temporary emotions. You write it because you know what's truly important to you. But when the excitement fades and real life begins to test that clarity, that's when your promise is tested. Will you keep showing up when it's inconvenient? Will you follow through when no one's cheering? The truth is, your future self is counting on you to say yes, because every action you take now builds the reality you'll wake up to later. The choices you make today either move you closer to that version of yourself or push you further away. When you honor your plan, you create trust within yourself. You begin to build a reputation with the one person who truly matters. You start to believe in your word again. That belief becomes power because it tells your brain that when you say something, you mean it. And when you live that way, life starts to respond differently. Opportunities open up, confidence grows, and progress accelerates because you're living in alignment with your truth. You no longer need to convince yourself to act. You simply follow through because it's who you are. The reason so many people struggle to stay consistent is that they underestimate the importance of this promise. They think their plan is just a tool to stay organized, but it's so much more. It's the map to their destiny, the blueprint of their dreams. When you break that plan, you're not just skipping a task, you're teaching your mind that commitment is optional. But when you honor it, even in small ways, you strengthen your discipline. You start to see the connection between small daily promises and massive long-term results. Following your plan becomes more than a routine. It becomes a declaration of who you are becoming. Your plan doesn't care about your excuses. It doesn't care about how tired you are or how bad your day has been. It stands firm, unchanging, waiting for you to meet it where you left it. It doesn't demand perfection, only consistency. The beauty of honoring your plan is that it gives structure to chaos. It gives direction when emotions blur your vision. On days when you don't feel motivated, your plan reminds you of your why. On days when doubt creeps in, your plan shows you that you already made the decision. You just need to execute. That's what separates those who succeed from those who start and stop. The successful ones don't rely on motivation. They rely on the promise they made to themselves. Think about your future self for a moment. Imagine looking back a year from now, knowing that you kept your promise every single day. You followed through on the plan you made. You didn't let distractions, fear, or laziness break that bond. That version of you will thank you for being disciplined enough to stay the course. That version of you will have the life you wanted because you honored the plan when it was hard to do so. Every day that you choose to act according to your plan, you are shaping that future in real time. Your plan is a mirror that reflects your priorities. When you ignore it, you tell yourself that your comfort matters more than your commitment. But when you honor it, you declare that your growth matters more than your moods. It's not about forcing perfection. It's about showing respect for your own vision. If you can't honor your own plan, how can you expect life to honor your efforts? The truth is simple. Success begins the moment you take your plan seriously enough to live by it. When you start treating your word like law, when you stop negotiating with yourself, when you act on your commitments even when no one is watching, you begin to transform not just your results, but your identity. You stop being someone who hopes for success and become someone who builds it, one honored promise at a time. The person who follows their plan, not their mood, becomes unstoppable. Most people let their emotions dictate their actions. They let a bad morning rue in a good day, a single setback destroy their rhythm, or a moment of doubt convince them to stop altogether. They treat their moods like commands instead of suggestions. But the truth is, moods are just waves. They rise and fall, they come and go. The people who achieve extraordinary things are not the ones who feel great all the time. They are the ones who keep moving no matter what they feel. They understand that progress doesn't care about feelings. Success doesn't wait for the perfect emotional state. The person who follows their plan, even when every part of them wants to stop, becomes someone who can't be shaken by temporary emotions. Being unstoppable doesn't mean you never struggle. It doesn't mean you never feel tired, unmotivated, or frustrated. It means you act anyway. It means your actions are driven by purpose, not by how you feel in the moment. The world is full of talented, passionate people who start strong but never finish. They wait for motivation to return, for the right moment to start again, for the perfect feeling to push them forward. But unstoppable people don't wait. They execute. They know that momentum is built through movement, not through waiting for inspiration. Every time you act despite your mood, you gain power over it. Every time you choose your plan over your emotions, you take control of your life. There's a shift that happens when you stop chasing feelings and start following structure. Suddenly, you stop needing to feel motivated to take action. You start doing what needs to be done simply because it's part of your plan, and something incredible happens. You begin to trust yourself. You start to realize that your word means something, that your commitment is real. That trust turns into strength, and that strength turns into momentum. The more you follow through, the less your mood matters. Your plan becomes your anchor, and no matter how rough the emotional waves get, you stay steady. People who follow their plan relentlessly develop a kind of confidence that can't be faked. It's not the kind of confidence that comes from pep talks or positive thinking. It's built from repetition, from showing up, from keeping promises when it's hard. It's built in the moments no one sees, when you quietly do what you said you would do. That kind of self-trust is rare, but once you have it, it changes everything. Because now, instead of being at the mercy of your emotions, you lead them. Instead of being controlled by how you feel, you control how you respond. That's what makes you unstoppable. Life will always test your resolve. There will be days when everything goes wrong, when your effort feels wasted, when your progress feels invisible. Those are the moments that separate the ordinary from the extraordinary. The person who follows their mood will stop, complain, or restart later. The person who follows their plan will adjust, adapt, and keep moving forward. That's what unstoppable means. It's not about never falling, it's about never staying down. It's about treating emotions as noise and your plan as truth. It's about showing up for yourself when it would be easier not to. Every time you choose your plan over your mood, you build resilience. You teach yourself that discomfort isn't danger, that fatigue isn't failure, that doubt isn't a reason to quit. You learn that emotions can exist without controlling you. You learn that persistence always outlasts passion. Because passion burns bright, but persistence burns long. And that long, steady burn is what builds legacies. The unstoppable person isn't fueled by excitement. They're fueled by purpose. They don't need to feel good to move forward. They move forward, and that's what makes them feel good. When you follow your plan, even on the worst days, you create momentum that can't be taken from you. You stop relying on willpower and start relying on identity. You no longer say, "I'll try." You simply do. You no longer wait to feel ready. You act your way into readiness. That's what separates the ones who talk about changing their life from the ones who actually do it. The unstoppable person is not the one who never struggles, but the one who keeps showing up through every struggle. The one who treats consistency as sacred and effort as non-negotiable. The one who understands that moods are momentary, but discipline is eternal. When you reach that level, when you can follow your plan through every season of emotion, you become untouchable, not because life gets easier, but because you've become stronger than anything it can throw your way.